The sun rose over Silver Creek like any other morning. Birds chirped. Dew sparkled on the grass, and the smell of coffee drifted from kitchen windows. Life in the small town was quiet, slow, and predictable, but that would not last. Above them, far beyond what most people could see, something strange was happening. A group of alien ships had entered Earth's orbit. They were dark and sleek, shaped like long claws pointing downward. They did not glow or hum. They did not come with flags or messages. They came silently, and they were afraid. On board, one of the largest ships, an alien commander named Velix watched the planet below through a wide black window. His skin was gray, his eyes large and round, and his voice low and sharp. He did not want to be here. None of them did. But they had no choice. "Scan. Complete," said a voice from the ship's control panel. "Life signs match ancient records." Velix looked at the data. Deep beneath the surface of this quiet world, something old was waking up. Something they had feared for generations. Something they had hoped was gone forever. "Prepare the extraction team," he said. Back on the ground, Lisa Jones was making breakfast. She lived on the edge of town with her teenage son, Danny. Their house sat near a big field where wildflowers grew tall and cows sometimes wandered too far. Lisa worked as a mechanic in town, fixing trucks and tractors, and Danny helped out when he wasn't at school. They heard the noise before they saw it. It started as a soft hum like a distant storm rolling in. Then the sky changed. Clouds twisted and pulled apart, and the light turned red and dim. The birds stopped singing. Dogs barked nervously. The whole town felt like it had been wrapped in silence. Danny ran outside first, squinting up at the sky. Lisa followed, wiping her hands on a towel. Above them, floating just above the tree line, were dozens of strange ships. They hovered without sound, like ghosts watching from the air. People came out of their homes confused and scared. Some grabbed phones trying to call someone, anyone, who might know what was happening. Others stood frozen, staring at the sky, like it had betrayed them. Then, a voice came from the ships. It wasn't loud, but it filled the air like wind through trees. It spoke in perfect English, though no one recognized the accent. "We mean no harm. We are here for the beast." A few people screamed. Others whispered questions. What beast? There were no monsters in Silver Creek. Just cows, deer, and the occasional fox. Lisa stepped forward. She didn't know why. Maybe it was because she was used to fixing broken things. Maybe it was because she had raised a boy alone and had learned not to panic when things went wrong. "What beast?" she called up. There was a pause. Then the voice answered. "The Guardian, the Destroyer, the Old One. It sleeps beneath this land." Danny looked at his mom. "Mom, I don't think they're joking." Others in the crowd nodded. Some backed away slowly. Fear spread like fire. Meanwhile, inside the alien ships, sensors began to pick up movement underground. Something was stirring, deep beneath the farmhouse at the end of Mill Road. The same farmhouse that had been empty for years, covered in vines and dust. Velix stared at the readings. His crew was silent. "It is awake," said one of the officers. "Deploy containment units," Velix ordered. Back on the ground, the earth shook. Not hard, just enough to make people stumble. A cow mooed nervously. A dog howled. Somewhere nearby, a car alarm went off. Then from beneath the old farmhouse, the ground cracked open. A cloud of dust burst into the sky. Pieces of wood flew like leaves caught in a storm. The farm's fence fell inward like it had been pushed by a giant hand. From the hole rose something huge. It was covered in thick scales, darker than night. Its legs were like tree trunks. Its eyes glowed red, and when it roared, the sound shook houses and made windows rattle. People screamed. Some ran. Others fell to their knees in shock. The creature climbed out of the earth like it had just woken from a long sleep. It looked around, confused and angry. It sniffed the air, then let out another roar. The alien ships reacted instantly. Beams of blue light shot down from the sky, striking the monster with energy blasts that carved craters into the ground. Smoke and fire filled the air, but the monster barely flinched. It looked up at the ships and growled. Then it leapt. Its massive body soared through the air. One of the smaller ships exploded in a flash of white light. Others scattered like insects in the wind. Panic took over. People ran in every direction. Cars tried to drive away, but many crashed into each other in the confusion. Lisa grabbed Danny's arm and pulled him behind a pickup truck. "Stay down!" she shouted. Danny peeked over the hood. The monster was stomping through the fields now, roaring at the sky. The aliens kept firing, but nothing seemed to stop it. "Mom," Danny said, "I think it's scared." Lisa looked again. The monster wasn't attacking randomly. It was looking up, dodging shots, moving like it was trying to get away. "You're right," she whispered. She thought about the way animals acted when they were hurt or cornered. They didn't attack unless they had to. They just wanted to survive. Maybe this thing wasn't a monster. Maybe it was just lost. "We have to stop this," she said. "What, are you crazy?" Danny asked. "No, if we keep fighting it, it'll fight back. We need to try something else." Before Danny could argue, Lisa stood up and started walking toward the creature. People yelled at her to stop. Some tried to grab her, but she kept going. The monster noticed her. It stopped mid-roar and looked down. Lisa raised both hands, showing she wasn't holding anything. She walked slowly, carefully. Sweat rolled down her face. Her heart pounded like a drum. When she got close enough, she saw something strange. The monster's chest was rising and falling fast. It was breathing heavily, like it was in pain. And then she saw it, right under its front legs, on its belly, a patch of softer skin. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Danny, still hiding behind the truck, watched his mom take a deep breath. And then, Lisa reached out and touched the monster. Her hand pressed gently against its warm, pulsing skin. The monster froze. Everyone else froze too. For a moment, nothing moved. Not the monster, not the aliens, not even the wind. Then, the monster let out a deep rumbling sound. Not a growl, not a roar. A purr. Lisa smiled. "See?" she whispered. "Sometimes all you need is a little kindness." Overhead, the alien ships hovered, in stunned silence. On the command deck, Velix stared at the live feed from the surface. It has calmed," one of the officers said. "How?" Velix asked. Nobody knew. But from that moment on, everything changed. The monster stood still, its red eyes blinking slowly as Lisa's hand pressed gently against its soft underbelly. The sound it made, a deep rumbling purr, was unlike anything anyone had ever heard before. Even the aliens in their floating ships above seemed frozen in place, unsure how to react. Danny finally dared to move. He peeked out from behind the pickup truck, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. "Mom?" he whispered, not sure if she could hear him. Lisa didn't answer. She kept rubbing the monster's belly, her movements slow and steady. The creature leaned into her touch, almost like a giant cat stretching after a nap. Dust and dirt fell from its thick scales as it shifted slightly, giving her better access to the soft patch beneath its front legs. People around them stared in stunned silence. Some were still crouched behind cars or hiding behind trees, too, afraid to move. Others had dropped whatever they were holding and just watched with wide eyes. "It's not attacking," said one man, his voice shaking. "What is she doing?" asked another woman, clutching her son's hand tightly. Above, the alien ships hovered without moving. Beams of energy that had moments ago been blasting the earth now remained silent. On the command deck of the largest ship, Velix narrowed his gray eyes at the live feed from the surface. "This cannot be real," he muttered. "Commander," said one of his officers, "the beast's aggression levels are dropping rapidly." Velix looked at the data again. It was true. The readings showed a sharp decline in hostility markers. The creature's pulse was slowing down. Its body language was changing. "How is this possible?" Velix asked. No one answered. Back on the ground, Danny took a cautious step forward. "Mom, what are you doing?" Lisa turned her head slightly, her eyes never leaving the monster. "I think it likes this," she said softly. "You think?" Danny whispered, his voice high with disbelief. "Just come over here and try it," she said. Danny hesitated. The monster was taller than a house, covered in armor-like scales, and had just sent an alien warship flying with a single leap. But something about the way it was acting now, relaxed, calm, almost sleepy, made him feel like maybe, just maybe, it wasn't going to eat them. He walked up beside his mom and slowly reached out. His fingers barely touched the creature's skin when it let out another low purr, deeper this time, almost like a hum in the air. "Whoa," Danny whispered. Others began stepping closer, drawn by curiosity and the undeniable fact that the monster was no longer roaring or stomping through the fields. One by one, townsfolk approached, watching Lisa and Danny carefully. An old farmer named Harold, who had raised cows for most of his life, knelt beside the monster's massive paw. "Looks like my bull used to act when I rubbed behind his ears," he said with a chuckle. "Then rub it," Lisa said. Harold gave her a look like she was crazy, but then shrugged. He reached out and scratched gently at the base of one of the monster's claws. The creature responded immediately, leaning back slightly and letting out another satisfied sound. More people joined in. Soon, there were hands all over the monster. Some scratching, some petting, some just touching to make sure it was real. The once terrifying beast now looked more like a giant dog enjoying a long-awaited nap in the sun. Overhead, the alien commander watched in stunned silence. This is not possible," he said again. "Perhaps we have misunderstood the nature of the being," one of his officers offered. "Misunderstood?" Velik snapped. "We have records of entire fleets being destroyed by this thing, and yet," the officer pointed out, "it is allowing humans to touch it." Velix did not respond. Instead, he studied the images coming from below. The humans were not using weapons. They weren't issuing commands or trying to contain the creature. They were simply showing it affection. It made no sense. Below, Lisa stood up and wiped sweat from her brow. "Okay," she said to the crowd. "Don't go wild, but I think we've got this figured out." "Figured out?" someone asked. "Yeah," she said, nodding toward the now snoring monster. "Whatever this thing is, it doesn't want to hurt us. It just needed comfort." "Comfort?" Danny repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," Lisa said, "like any other animal. Sometimes all they need is a little kindness." Above, the alien ships began to lower themselves toward the ground. The people noticed and stepped back instinctively, but Lisa held up a hand. "Wait," she said. "They're not attacking anymore." The ships landed with soft thuds, kicking up small clouds of dust. From each one, tall, thin figures emerged. They had gray skin, large black eyes, and wore dark suits that shimmered slightly in the light. One of them stepped forward, walking slowly toward Lisa and the others. It raised a hand, not in threat, but in greeting. Lisa stepped forward to meet it. The alien tilted its head slightly, studying her, then it spoke, its voice smooth and quiet. "You have calmed the beast." "Well, yeah," Lisa said, brushing dirt from her jeans. "Didn't seem right to keep shooting at it." The alien blinked slowly. "In our history, the beast has only ever known violence. It has destroyed entire worlds." "Well," Lisa said, looking at the monster, which was now lying on its side with its legs in the air, "maybe it just needed friends." There was a pause. Then the alien nodded. "Perhaps we were not kind enough." Danny stepped up beside his mom. "So, why were you trying to take it anyway?" The alien looked at him. "We believed it was a weapon, one left behind by an ancient race. We thought it might help us win a war." Lisa frowned. "You were going to use it as a weapon?" The alien hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. That's messed up," Danny muttered. Lisa crossed her arms. "Well, looks like you're not getting your weapon." The alien looked at the snoring monster again. "Yes, we see that now." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the alien extended a long, slender hand toward Lisa. She looked at it, then shook it firmly. "Welcome to Earth," she said. The alien gave what might have been a smile. "Thank you." Above them, the sky was clear again. The ships no longer fired. The monster no longer roared. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a new kind of peace had begun. The alien stood beside Lisa as the monster snored softly in the field. Dust swirled around them, settling after the chaos of the morning. The townspeople watched closely, unsure what to make of this strange meeting between human and visitor. Danny walked up beside his mom, still rubbing his hands together like they were cold. "So, what now?" he asked. Lisa looked at the alien. "What's your name?" The alien tilted its head again, thinking. Then it said, "I am called Vel." "Vel," Lisa repeated. "Okay, nice to meet you." Vel nodded slowly. "You have done something we did not believe possible." "Well," Lisa said with a small smile, "turns out sometimes all you need is a little love." Nearby, Harold chuckled. "Looks like my old dog back home. Used to fall asleep if you rubbed his belly just right." Some people laughed nervously. The tension was easing but not gone. Then one of the other aliens stepped forward. It looked like Vel, but taller, with silver markings on its arms. It spoke in a voice that was sharper, more formal. "This creature is dangerous," it said. "It has destroyed many of our ships. We cannot allow it to remain free." Lisa frowned. "Free? You mean here?" "Yes," the alien said. "We must contain it." Danny took a step forward. "Contain it how?" "In a safe place," the alien replied. "Where it can be studied." "Studied," Danny echoed. "Like some kind of lab animal?" "He's not an animal," Lisa said firmly. "And he's not yours to take." Vel looked at the other alien, then back at Lisa. "We do not wish to harm it," he said. "But we must understand it." "Then start by listening," Lisa said. "Not shooting." There was a long silence. The wind blew gently through the tall grass. Finally, Vel turned to the other alien. "Perhaps we should learn before we act." The sharp-voiced alien hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "Very well." Above, the alien ships remained in the sky, watching silently. Later that day, more humans arrived. Scientists, soldiers, and reporters came from nearby cities and towns. News had spread fast. Aliens had landed in Silver Creek, and somehow a monster had been calmed by a mechanic and her son. People were confused, curious, and scared. But they came anyway. A group of scientists approached the monster carefully. They had cameras, sensors, and notebooks. One of them, a woman named Dr. Carol West, knelt beside the sleeping beast and reached out slowly. She touched its belly, just like Lisa had done. The monster stirred slightly, then let out another low purr. Dr. West smiled. "Remarkable," she whispered. "You see?" Lisa said. "It likes it." Carol looked up. "How did you figure this out?" "My boy noticed it liked being touched." "There," Lisa said. "Thought maybe it needed comfort." "Well," Carol said, "you might be onto something bigger than you know." Meanwhile, Vel and his crew began sharing what they knew about the monster. They called it Zorak, which meant guardian in their language. According to them, Zorak was created by an ancient race to protect planets. It slept deep underground, keeping the ground stable and preventing disasters like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. But over time, the knowledge of Zorak's purpose was lost. Other races came to fear it, believing it to be a weapon of mass destruction. When Vel's people found signs of Zorak waking up, they came to take it before anyone else could use it against them. "But we were wrong," Vel admitted. "Yeah," Danny said. "You kind of were." That night, the town gathered in the school gym for a meeting. Tables were pushed aside, chairs lined up, and people filled every space. Everyone wanted answers. Lisa and Danny sat near the front. So did Dr. West and a few of the scientists. Vel and two of his crew stood beside them, looking out at the crowd. Someone raised their hand. "If this thing is supposed to protect the planet, why did it attack us?" Vel answered. "Because we attacked first." Murmurs spread through the room. "We came with weapons," he continued. "With force. It responded the only way it knew. How? Another person asked. So, what happens now? Lisa stood up. Now, we learn from it, and we make sure nobody tries to take it again. A man in uniform stood up next. He was military. Ma'am, with respect, we don't know what this thing is capable of. It could be a threat. Could be, Lisa agreed. But so are bears and snakes and thunderstorms. Doesn't mean we shoot them on sight. The room fell quiet again. Dr. West spoke next. From what we've seen, Zorak responds to touch, affection, and calm energy. It seems to bond with those who show it kindness. So what you're saying, someone called out, is this monster is basically a giant puppy? Some people laughed. Even Vel gave a small nod. In a way, Dr. West said, yes. The next morning a plan was made. The government would set up a research base nearby, but not too close. They would study Zorak from a distance, using non-threatening methods. The aliens would stay too, under supervision, to share what they knew, and most importantly, Zorak would not be taken. He would stay here in Silver Creek, where he had been calmed for the first time in thousands of years. As the days passed, more people came. Not just scientists and soldiers, but families, kids, even tourists. They all wanted to see the monster, that purred when you rubbed its belly. Kids brought toys hoping to play with him. Farmers brought food, thinking maybe he liked apples or corn. Some even tried brushing his scales like a horse. Zorak enjoyed all of it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Lisa and Danny sat on a hilltop overlooking the field where Zorak rested. Can't believe this is real, Danny said. Me neither, Lisa replied. Do you think he'll be okay here? Yeah, she said. As long as we treat him right. Danny nodded. Guess we showed the galaxy that humans aren't just loud and messy. We showed them, she said with a grin, that sometimes the best way to solve a problem isn't with guns or science. Sometimes, Danny added, all you need is a good belly rub. They both laughed. Below them, Zorak rolled onto his side, stretching out like a cat enjoying the last light of day. Somewhere above, Vel watched from his ship, observing the peaceful scene. For the first time, he felt something new. Hope. The days turned into weeks, and Silver Creek became something new. It was no longer just a quiet town with wide fields and old farms. Now, it was home to the first peaceful meeting between humans and aliens, and the only place in the galaxy where a monster could be calmed by belly rubs. People came from all over. Not just from other towns, but from other countries. Scientists, reporters, even curious tourists arrived in buses and cars, some walking if they had to. The local diner stayed open 24 hours, serving coffee and pie to anyone who asked. In the middle of it all, Zorak remained calm. He stayed in the field near the old farmhouse, resting most of the time, waking up when someone came to visit. He liked children best. They were small, gentle, and always seemed to know where to scratch. He would roll onto his back with a deep purr, stretching out like a giant cat enjoying the sun. Lisa and Danny found themselves busy every day. People wanted to talk to them, ask questions, get advice on how to interact with Zorak. At first, it felt strange being looked at like experts, but they got used to it. You just have to listen, Lisa told one group of visitors. Not with your ears, but with your heart. Danny added, and don't forget the belly rubs. Laughter followed, but there was truth in what they said. Zorak responded to kindness more than anything else. If someone approached him with fear, he would grow uneasy. But if they came with warmth, he welcomed them. Meanwhile, the aliens stayed nearby. Vel and his crew set up a small base just outside town, under the watch of the government. They didn't bring weapons anymore. Instead, they brought knowledge. They shared stories about Zorak's past, about how ancient civilizations once lived alongside him, treating him as a protector rather than a threat. They explained that long ago, their ancestors had tried to study him but had done so with force. That was when Zorak became feared across the stars. We thought strength was the way to understand, Vel admitted one evening while sitting, with Lisa and Danny at the edge of the field. But you showed us another path, Lisa smiled. Sometimes the loudest voice isn't the one that matters most. Vel nodded slowly. Perhaps we should have learned this sooner. As word spread, more alien ships arrived, not to attack but to learn. They came from different worlds, each with their own history of fearing Zorak. Now they wanted to understand him the way humans had. Some were skeptical at first. They watched from a distance, unsure if what they were seeing was real. Then, one by one, they stepped forward. A tall alien with purple skin reached out and touched Zorak's side. The beast stirred, blinked, then let out a low hum. The alien looked surprised, then pleased. Another visitor, a four-armed creature from a distant moon, tried scratching behind Zorak's ear-like fins. The monster rolled onto his side, clearly enjoying it. Soon, the field wasn't just filled with humans. It was filled with beings from across the stars, all learning the same lesson, that kindness could reach even the oldest and fiercest of creatures. Back in Washington, the government held meetings. They debated what to do next, whether to keep Zorak in Silver Creek or move him somewhere more secure. But every time they tried to make plans without asking the people involved, they were reminded of one thing. Zorak was not an object to be moved. He was a living being, and he had chosen to stay. So instead of taking control, they made a decision. Silver Creek would become a place of peace. A research center was built nearby, but not too close. It was meant for study, yes, but also for learning how to communicate with life forms that did not speak in words. Doctors, linguists, and even psychologists worked together to understand how Zorak responded to emotions. They found that touch, sound, and presence mattered more than language. Zorak understood care before he understood speech. This led to something new: emotional resonance-based communication. It was a fancy name for something simple, using feelings, warmth, and connection to build trust with beings that weren't human. Scientists began training diplomats in these methods. They taught that not every problem needed a weapon and not every answer came from technology. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem was to sit beside it, offer comfort, and listen. On TV and online, videos of Zorak went viral. Clips of kids giving him belly rubs, of aliens trying to pet him for the first time, of Lisa explaining how to tell when he was happy or upset. One reporter asked her, "How does it feel knowing you changed the way we see monsters?" Lisa thought for a moment. Then she said, "I think we just forgot that not all monsters are bad. Some are just scared or lonely. And sometimes, all they need is a little love." Meanwhile, Danny became something of a celebrity among younger kids. He gave talks at schools, showing how to interact with Zorak safely. He even wrote a short book titled How to Make a Monster Smile, which sold more copies than anyone expected. He didn't mind the attention, but what he liked best was still the quiet evenings in the field, when it was just him, his mom, and Zorak, watching the stars. One night as they sat on a hill overlooking the town, Danny looked up at the sky. "Do you think there are other monsters out there?" he asked. Lisa followed his gaze. "Maybe, or maybe they're not monsters at all. Maybe they're just waiting for someone to be kind." Above them, alien ships floated silently, watching over the peaceful town. Below, Zorak lay curled in the grass, dreaming. And somewhere far beyond the stars, a message was sent across the galaxy. There is a planet where monsters are not feared, where kindness speaks louder than weapons, where a creature of war was calmed by love. And for the first time in thousands of years, the stars listened. The years passed and Silver Creek changed forever. What had once been a quiet town known only for its cornfields and friendly neighbors now stood as a symbol of peace between humans and aliens. Zorak still lived in the field near the old farmhouse. He had grown larger over time, his scales darker, his presence calmer. He no longer woke up suddenly or roared at the sky. Instead, he spent most days lying in the sun, enjoying the company of children, curious aliens, and even the occasional cow that wandered too close. He had become more than just a monster. He was a guardian, a teacher, and to many, a friend. Lisa and Danny stayed in Silver Creek. Lisa kept running her small garage, fixing cars and helping visitors who came to see Zorak. She never asked for money or fame. She just wanted to make sure things were done right. Danny grew older. He finished school, then helped run the visitor center that had been built nearby. It wasn't a big place, just a few rooms with books, pictures and videos explaining how Zorak had come to live among them. There were also guides on how to interact with him safely. People from all over the world came to learn, not just about Zorak, but about kindness, patience, and understanding. In Washington, new policies were created. Diplomats were trained not only in language and strategy, but in emotional connection. They learned how to read body language, how to show respect without speaking, and how to offer comfort before conflict. These lessons became known as the Silver Creek methods, and they spread across the globe. Schools taught them. Hospitals used them. Even prisons adopted some of their ideas. And when humans finally made contact with more alien species, those first meetings went differently than they might have before. Instead of weapons, there were gifts. Instead of demands, there were questions. And sometimes, instead of speeches, there were simply smiles. Above the Earth, alien ships floated in orbit, watching and learning. Vel and his people stayed the longest. They built a small station in space, dedicated to studying Zorak and sharing what they had learned with others. Vel himself visited Silver Creek often. He walked through the fields, sat beside Zorak, and listened. He said very little, but when he did speak, it was always thoughtful. "We used to believe strength was the answer," he told Lisa one day, "but you showed us another way." She smiled. Sometimes the softest touch makes the biggest difference. As time went on, other aliens arrived, not just to see Zorak, but to understand how humans had connected with him. Some brought their young, hoping they would grow up knowing that not all beings from other worlds were enemies. One small alien child reached out and touched Zorak's nose. The beast blinked slowly, then let out a deep hum of approval. The child giggled. From that moment on, Silver Creek became something more than a town. It became a place of learning, a place of hope, and a place where fear could be soothed with kindness. Back at the United Nations, a special event was held. It wasn't about war, politics, or trade. It was about peace. Lisa and Danny were invited to speak. They stood on stage looking out at hundreds of faces, scientists, leaders, reporters, and even a few aliens who had traveled far to attend. Lisa began. "None of this was planned. We didn't know what Zorak was when he woke up. We didn't know if he was dangerous, but we knew one thing: he looked scared." Danny stepped forward. "So we tried something different. We didn't shoot. We didn't run. We reached out." Lisa added, "And he responded." There was silence in the room. Then applause, not loud, not wild, but respectful, meaningful. After the speech, a reporter asked Lisa, "Do you think this will last? Do you think humans and aliens will keep treating each other with kindness?" She thought for a moment. "I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. We've shown that even the fiercest beings can be calmed by care. And that gives me hope." Danny nodded. "And if anyone ever forgets, they can come to Silver Creek and get reminded." Years later, Zorak remained in the fields of Silver Creek. He had become part of the land, part of the people, part of history. Children grew up visiting him. They learned how to be gentle, how to listen, and how to show love without expecting anything in return. Aliens still came too, not just from Vel's world, but from many others. They studied, they observed, and sometimes they even joined in, the belly rubs. On clear nights when the stars filled the sky, Zorak could be seen lying on his back, eyes closed, softly purring as the wind blew through the grass. And somewhere above, alien ships watched quietly, reminding the galaxy that not every planet needed to be feared. Not every being needed to be controlled. Some just needed a little kindness. Lisa and Danny still lived in Silver Creek. They weren't rich, They weren't famous, and they didn't want to be. They just wanted to make sure that what they had continued. One evening, as they sat on the hill overlooking the town, Danny looked at his mom. "Do you think we made a difference?" he asked. Lisa smiled. "I think we reminded people that not everything scary is bad, and not everything powerful needs to be fought." Danny leaned back on his elbows. "Kind of funny, isn't it? All those stories about monsters and heroes. And the real hero was a monster who liked belly rubs." They both laughed. Below them, Zorak stirred slightly, stretching like a cat waking from a nap. He looked up at the stars, blinked slowly, and let out a soft, contented sound. Above, the galaxy listened, and for the first time in a long time it understood. The end.